Mr. President, on Cluster 1, the Malaysian government is committed to accede to the remaining 6 international human rights instruments, namely the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the International Covenant for Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, the International Convention on the Prevention of Enforced Disappearance, the Convention Against Torture, the International Conventions on the Rights of Migrant Workers and their families, and the Convention on Elimination of Racial Discriminations. The implementation of these instruments is currently being deliberated extensively with all stakeholders. Malaysia is also considering acceding to the Rome Statute, and the internal process on this matter has begun. The government firmly believes in engagement, complete openness and transparency, and for this reason agreed to the request for country visits by the special procedure mandate holders during the reporting cycle. In addition, the special reporter on the stale and sexual exploitation of children visited Malaysia in September 2018, and the special rapporteur on the human rights to safe drinking water and sanitation will visit Malaysia next week. The government has also agreed to invite the special rapporteur on extreme poverty and human rights. On Cluster 2, with regard to civil and political rights, given the recent developments in Malaysia, this is an area where vibrant political values have expressed itself through political emancipations. Malaysians have exercised better judgment on the various political agenda and narratives presented to them. Their judgment and political maturity prevailed. Under the new government, ongoing political discourse is robust and healthy. In reflecting this current change, the Public Accounts Committee is now headed by an opposition member of parliament. This indicates the government's seriousness in ensuring checks and balances in its governing system. The decisions to abolish the death penalty and a moratorium on all pending sentences presents a new and fresh narrative on human rights. This is indeed a significant landmark development which will go down in the annals of the country's human rights records. The amendments to the relevant laws will be tabled in Parliament at the earliest opportunity, while a moratorium has now been imposed on death sentences. I hope that this development will be viewed positively as a precursor to all other new human rights developments. The government is serious in walking the talk on human rights. Furthermore, in safeguarding the freedom of expression and speech, the government is taking steps to repeal the Anti-Fake News Act and Sedition Act. In the meantime, the government has made a firm decision to suspend the application of Sedition Act. In order to ensure the emancipations of the press and the informed public could exercise better judgment, the government has also established a special committee to review the provisions of several other laws, namely Printing Presses and Publications Act, the Communications and Multimedia Act, and at the same time the suspensions of the Security Offences Act, the Prevention of Crime Act and the Prevention of Terrorism Act are also being reviewed for the same reason. Mr. President, in the new Malaysia, the supremacy of law is upheld and respected. It has set a level political playing field with democratic values and principles deeply entrenched. It is for this reason that democratic change in Malaysia took place, and where the voice of the people is paramount. The last election also empowered the government to revamp weak institutions and eliminate excesses and abuses in the interest of creating a much more vibrant and mature democracy, promote good governance and accountability. In the super reform, universal suffrage has been lowered from 21 to 18 years old. These will provide the younger generation with greater political and democratic space in shaping the governance of our country. As part of the reform, the Election Commission has been proposed to be under the supervision of the Parliamentary Select Committee instead of under the aegis of the Prime Minister's office. The compositions of the Commission is now constituted by a representative from civil society and headed by a prominent civil rights advocate. Transparency and accountability is now central to this new arrangement. In upholding the supremacy of law, the questionable appointment of prominent members of the judiciary will be a thing of the past, as the new government attaches great importance to the independence and invaluable work of the judiciary in upholding the rule of law. Mr. President, on Cluster 3, inclusivity has always been the core principles of the government's distributive economic policy in ensuring the equal participation of all its citizens. The 11th Malaysia Plan further promotes four main thrusts, namely enhancing inclusiveness towards equitable society, improving well-being for all, accelerating human capital development towards enhanced nation, and re-engineering economic growth for greater prosperity. However, in its midterm review, the government has put in place 6 new pillars, namely 1. Reforming governance towards a greater transparency and enhancing the efficiency of public review. 2. Enhancing inclusive development and well-being of the people. 3. Pursuing balanced regional development. 4. Empowering human capital. 5. Enhancing environmental sustainability through green growth. And 6. Strengthening economic growth. These pillars, among others, are targeted to raise the socio-economic standard of the people and to carry out development programs providing infrastructure and utilities to help reduce further the poverty gap. The government is also committed in ensuring shared prosperity and narrowing the income disparity between the rich and the poor.